Welcome into Stacking the Box podcast with Sterling Holmes and Iain MacMillan. I am Sterling Holmes, and we have a special guest joined now by Reed Wallach. Reed Wallach, senior editor at BetSided and host of the Early Read, which is very timely. College football podcast. What are we talking about now? The NFL draft. Reed, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm pumped to be on, talk some draft betting, all this stuff. I love the NFL draft. And I think it's funny as someone who watches as much, if not more, college football than anyone. When we get to the NFL draft, I feel like we just lose sight of what's going on. Like the pro and college comparisons, like we have to almost throw out like what we're looking at. And we need to look at it from a new lens. The NFL game is so different. And I just think that it's so interesting how these teams actually form their opinions. And, I have my own opinions on some of these players. And I mean, this year shaping up to be as wild as any with the flip-flopping going on the last few days at number one in the betting market. Who's going to trade up to 3? What's happening with the Colts at 4? I mean, there's a lot going on here and there's a lot to get into. So I'm pumped to come on and hash it out with you guys.
Iain, how you doing, man? It's been a long time. It's been a whole week. I've missed your face. I've missed the Canadian beer you have on tap apparently behind you. I've missed getting into it about Desmond Ridder and the Falcons. How was your Easter weekend?
Yeah, everything was good. This is, when you cheer for a bad team like I cheer for the Atlanta Falcons, there's very few bright spots of the year, but the NFL draft is one of them. Because when your team has a top 10 pick, it is exciting leading up to the NFL draft. So I'm pumped. This is the first time I've been able to get excited about the Falcons since probably like week 4 or 5 last season. So I'm excited to get into it. Just a couple weeks away now.
And if you want to be excited, we stream live every single Tuesday from 11 Central a.m. until noon Central. If you guys want to tune in live, you can. If you're listening to this on the podcast audio version, if you're watching on YouTube after the fact, we do this live, and if you want to comment, we will answer any of your questions, at least most of your questions. But let's get into it. Bryce Young, now projected to be the number 1 overall draft pick in this NFL draft. Just a week ago, it was C.J. Stroud, and Iain, you and myself, we talked about it. We were pretty entrenched with C.J. Stroud going 1, but now it's Bryce Young. What's up with this?
Yeah, it's interesting. We talked last week. I think Stroud was a minus. If you look at the betting odds, like a minus 300 favorite. And for anyone who doesn't know what betting odds means you'd have to bet $300 on CJ Stroud in order just to profit $100. So that's a pretty sizable favorite. Now, just a week later, with no real significant news coming out, or at least maybe none that I'm aware of, Bryce Young now minus 250 favorite Stroud down to plus 175. So one of the best things that you should look at when trying to predict what's going to happen, especially in the NFL draft, is the betting odds, because nobody has a better idea of what's going to happen than professional sports bettors who are laying down a lot of money on these kinds of outcomes. So Bryce Young, now the betting favorite. Did I miss news, Reed? Was there any kind of news to cause this, or is this just whispers from inside the Panthers organization?
Yeah, my assessment on this, Young is, he's out to like minus 250, 300 now. I think this isn't like listen, maybe it is Bryce Young and that's been the decision, but as someone who looks at this from a betting perspective, this seemed more like the odds got close and then people just started flooding in with Bryce Young, like FOMO betting, basically saying, okay, well, this is it. Like it's going to be Bryce Young. And now the numbers maybe gone a little too far out to Bryce Young. I mean, when the Panthers trade up, there were a lot of reports that CJ Stroud was their guy. Josh McCown had that video talking about how much he loves CJ Stroud at the pro day. He loves CJ Stroud. Then there's been some murmurs that Bryce Young is in the conversation. This isn't a done deal. It's not confirmed, because if it would have been confirmed that it was CJ Stroud, it would have went to like minus $1 million. Like you wouldn't be able to bet it anymore. So the fact that Stroud was still like a overwhelming favorite meant that it wasn't in pen and it wasn't at the podium already. So I think that this move to Bryce Young shows that maybe it is him and he is running away, but we still got 2.5 weeks left. So I think we still have a little bit more to suss out here, but I think it's an open conversation. I personally, I'm not crazy. I think all these quarterbacks have flaws. I think Bryce Young to me is the better quarterback prospect. That's my opinion. I don't work for the Panthers, but I think that there's some definite momentum that's going in Bryce Young's direction. As the odds, maybe it's a little too far out. Like I'm not rushing to bet Bryce Young right now. I think the ship has sailed on that Bryce Young movement right now. There might be another opportunity to get back in though.
Yeah, how pissed would you be if you got CJ Stroud at minus 300 and now you're like, well, I should have waited. It might be a good time if you're in the betting market to go to CJ Stroud. Wouldn't you agree?
100%. I think with this draft specifically, we'll hand out a few bets along the way, I think. But to me right now, let's try and pounce on this uncertainty that is the NFL draft because, okay, now we have a new timeline where everyone's thinking, okay, CJ Stroud's going to go 1, Bryce Young's going to go 2. The intrigue starts with the Cardinals at 3. We now need to open up another timeline where it's CJ Stroud or Bryce Young might go 1. Is CJ Stroud going to go 2? Is a defensive player going to go 2? I think you want to be looking at plus signs this far out from the draft still with it being unknown. You don't want to lay minus 300 when you don't know what's going on because this is different than like a normal football game where you're betting a team to win. Like that's like this outcome is going to be determined by people. It's an information bet. So it's a little different. So this is not something I'm rushing to lay minus 300 on Bryce Young, lay $300 to win 100. That's not something I'm interested in doing. I think maybe you going on CJ Stroud and there's another opportunity where the odds kind of shift back. All it takes is one report from Adam Schefter or Chris Mortensen to say, David Tepper kind of likes CJ Stroud, actually. He woke up this morning and kind of changed his mind. All of a sudden, CJ Stroud's minus 300. That's how these things move. So I wouldn't rush to lay a minus number this far up in the draft, given where we stand right now.
And what the dream scenario would be for anyone who's looking to bet on this is that if you get plus money on both guys, if someone had got Bryce Young at plus money there last week, and now they're able to get CJ Stroud at plus money, unless something out of the blue happens, like Anthony Richardson goes first overall, you're guaranteed to make money. So maybe the move now is take Stroud at plus money, hope things do flip back the opposite way. Then you can get Young at plus money, and you're laughing heading into draft day.
I just love you guys were talking about, spend 300 to win 100. I'm sitting here going, all right, maybe I'll spend $3 to win $8.
Yes.
I'm a little more frugal than you. Reed, I just saw you said the Falcons just traded for Jeff Okudah, former Ohio State cornerback.
Yeah. What?
I thought that was timely to talk about, not to rip up the outline, but yeah, because one of my thoughts on this draft was I think you liked Falcons go pass rusher, so this would probably help in that regard. I was thinking Falcons go cornerback, so maybe they still do go cornerback, really try and fortify the secondary, but that's a pretty nice buy low by the Falcons. I don't know what they gave up, though. I'm just looking at Twitter right now.
Yeah, per Field Yates trade, the Falcons are acquiring Lions cornerback Jeff Okudah. His agent, Kevin Connor of Unisports Management, confirmed.
For a 5th round pick, it looks like.
Okay. That's not bad.
Oh, come on, Chiefs.
That's not bad. That's
a 5th rounder? I'm in, baby.
Yeah. Did Jeff Okudah have a good year last year? I feel like I haven't seen anything about Jeff Okudah.
He's been
I know he was injured 2 years ago. He was injured 2 years ago.
So ideally, yes, and we're going to get into this in a little bit. Ideally, I wanted the Falcons to get a pass rusher, but I have 2 on my mind, and I've been running for the past week now. I've been running these like mock drafts on PFF where you can actually like take control of a team and mock draft 7 rounds, and the guy I want never falls to me. So and every single version of this mock draft, and I did one with Rob Pizzola yesterday, I ended up going corner 8th overall for the Falcons because the pass rushers I wanted didn't fall to me. Now this changes everything. The Falcons absolutely will not be taking a cornerback 8th overall, which seemed like the most likely scenario. So now that changes a lot of things heading into the draft for the Falcons. Now it is not going to be a corner they're going to take. They'll probably look pass rusher. Maybe they'll trade back. That changes things a lot. That's interesting.
Yeah, Jeff Okudah, former 3rd round draft pick from Ohio State, played in only 9 games his rookie season, a disappointment. All the hype that was surrounding him, only 1 game in 2021, again, perpetually injured, and then was able to play in 15 games last season. But the Lions obviously have had a massive investment into the corner position. Jeff Okudah was rumored to be on the trade block for a few days now. And the Falcons, according to, I don't know where you saw, but apparently a 5th round draft pick for Jeff Okudah.
Yeah, I'm looking at some PFF grades of him. Great run stopper as a corner. His coverage grade has not been great lately. That's a little bit concerning. So, but yeah, it's a move.
Yeah.
5th round pick. I think that's I'll take him for a 5th round pick.
Yeah, former 3rd round draft pick overall, or 3rd pick overall. I'm all in. I mean, that is a good move in my opinion for the Falcons. 5th rounders, that's a dart throw if I've ever seen one. Might as well take a dart throw on someone who was rumored at the time to be a can't miss prospect at corner.
Agreed.
All right, let's get back into Bryce Young because I want to get your thoughts on this, Reed. Ian, I don't know if your thoughts have changed. Mine haven't changed. I still think personally, not betting wise, on the field wise, CJ Stroud is the safer bet. That's the way I would go if I were the GM. You said Bryce Young. Why do you think Bryce Young is more talented or would translate better NFL success wise than CJ Stroud?
It's more of a feel and an eye test for me. I do feel, and it's funny, the last game you'll see from CJ Stroud was probably, in my opinion, his best and most impressive to, looking at his NFL career against Georgia, where obviously Ohio State loses. But to me, Bryce Young, every single time I watched him play, making plays out of nothing. And it's going to sound silly because it's Alabama, right? They're the best team. But this Alabama team, especially last year, not a great offensive line. They did not have the receivers, especially last year. 2 years ago, they had John Mechie and Jamison Williams. I'll give you that. But this past year, this Alabama team was a complete fade for me. I did not like Alabama at all throughout the entire season. Didn't see them as a national championship contender like they were kind of being priced. So I had a very keen eye on Bryce Young, and I watched him make play after play, make read after read, play hurt. All those things, the intangibles really jump out to me. I get he's small, so maybe that's going to hold him back. But I then watched CJ Stroud. Didn't love him under pressure. I didn't really see as much making plays on the run. He didn't really create with his legs. Bryce Young actually created more with his legs. And most importantly, look at who he was throwing to. Marvin Harrison Jr. next year might be the, top 3 pick as a wide receiver. He's filthy. They had offensive lineman Paris Johnson's going to be a top 15 pick at least, maybe top 10. So to me, I think Bryce Young did more with less. And when I'm looking at the next level, that stands out to me because when CJ Stroud to me was under pressure, under duress, I just didn't see number 1 pick potential, in my opinion. He throws a pretty ball when he has time. He's able to set his speed and throw. But you got to think, if you're going to Carolina, rebuilding situation, is that going to be there? You're going to be, that offensive line has work to do. Not as good of receivers for sure. So I think you're going to have some issues with CJ Stroud early on. To me, Bryce Young, you could drop in there and he's going to give you an opportunity to take a step forward. I'm not going to say the Panthers are immediately a win now destination, but this is a guy that I believe in as a quarterback prospect. And maybe that's just gut feel to me, but that's how I see it.
Shout out Chris Albright in the chat. Sterling got his guy, Richie James. Yeah, I've been on the Richie James train for about a month now. So I'm glad Richie James coming to Kansas City as a McCole Hardman replacement. But Ian, rebuttal. Why are you going CJ Stroud? Or if you're still sticking with CJ Stroud, number 1 overall?
No, I was just, when I said that last week, I was just kind of following the betting odds. How's
that fit?
Reed, let me ask you this. Who do you think has a higher floor between the 2 quarterbacks? Because I'm not as big of a college football guy as you are, but I feel like CJ Stroud might have a little bit of a higher floor because Bryce Young, I know his height might cause some concerns, especially when we're seeing what's happening with Kyler Murray, where the talent is there, but he's getting hurt almost every single year. Do you have any concerns with that about Bryce Young, and which quarterback do you think would have the higher floor?
Higher floor. I see Bryce Young where I guess Stroud has the higher floor because he does have the size. He can throw, he can put the ball downfield. But in today's NFL, if you're not able to be mobile in the pocket and make plays on the run, that's where you run into trouble in today's NFL. And Bryce Young could do that. Bryce Young, incredibly mobile. We've seen him make plays on the run. We've seen him make not even the audibles at the line of scrimmage, like the improvisation in the field of play, running around, finding guys downfield, even little dump offs. We've seen that from Bryce Young. CJ Stroud is more of a one-trick pony. That's where I'm not going to say like total bust on CJ Stroud, where Bryce Young can maybe get a little hurt earlier in his career. The durability could be a concern. Had a shoulder injury this past season. Stroud, to me, though, I don't see elite upside with CJ Stroud like I do Bryce Young. I think that Bryce Young's able to overcome the size issue. You're talking all pro level quarterback. To me, Stroud kind of see like just middle ground there. Like maybe it's a high floor, low ceiling to me with Stroud. Throws a nice ball, but again, like if you're not able to make the plays, that's where I get concerned. So, maybe I'm wrong, but I see much higher ceiling for Bryce Young. I guess I'll give you that though, Ian. Higher floor for CJ Stroud, but it's number one pick. You want to go high, you're the Panthers. You gave up all those picks to move up for a decent floor, decent ceiling. To me, it's Bryce Young is the one that jumps off the page, in my opinion. But I could see the concern though with Bryce Young, just the size wise.
I will say this. I don't think the Panthers should have traded up to 1. Ian and I have talked about it. Reed, I'd like to get your thoughts if sometimes we overvalue the first overall draft pick. Because for me, if you don't have a clear-cut guy, there's not an Andrew Luck. There's not even Trevor Lawrence, right? There's no quarterback who's like, that's the guy. He will have immediate success. His floor is going to be here. And then there's also this immense upside. We're not seeing it. There's so many questions about Bryce Young. You even mentioned CJ Stroud. Yeah, maybe the floor is there, but the ceiling's not there. I get you probably want to take more of a ceiling guy. With the first overall draft pick, you don't want to draft Jared Goff 1-1. That's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to find the Patrick Mahomes. You're trying to find the Joe Burrow. But to me, I think that first overall draft pick has gotten a little bit overvalued.
Yeah, I just talked nice about Bryce Young because he is in my opinion, the best quarterback in this class is Bryce Young. To me, though, I think the Panthers got fleeced in this deal. I personally think that they gave up way too much to move up and control this board, whether you're going Stroud or Bryce Young. I just don't think that either of these guys are worth the haul they gave up to get there because it's opportunity cost, right? They gave up, off the top of my head, I think it was this year's pick, a second or third round pick, next year's first, and the following year's second, and DJ Moore. Like you're leaving, whether it's Young, Stroud, whoever it is, you're leaving them with nothing. By the time that these guys are going to be at the end of their rookie contracts, you're just now getting your assets back. So I think it was a bit of a dicey gamble, and they overpaid. I get you want the quarterback prospect, and David Tepper is so aggressive, but I would not have made the trade if I was controlling, the Panthers' war room. I would not have moved up for this type of haul, in my opinion. So I agree with you there. I don't think, especially given next year's class with Caleb Williams and Drake May, I think next year's quarterback class has much higher pro potential, in my opinion. So I think the Panthers got a little too aggressive, in my opinion, but, we now live in this world. So, I personally think Bryce Young should be the number 1 overall pick. I don't think Stroud's out of it, but that's how I see it right now. But no, I would not have made this move, in my opinion.
I will also say the Texans have done a good job, which is weird saying the Texans have done a good job, but re-signing Laramie Tunsil, bringing in Dalton Schultz, which we all know rookie quarterbacks like to target their tight end early in their careers, also bringing in Robert Woods, giving their rookie quarterback a chance. The Panthers, on the other hand, that remains to be seen. But let's look into the future. Question number 1. What player do you think your team will select with their first pick? Ian, I want to start with you. Mr. Atlanta. Mr. Atlanta.
Yeah, since I've heard this news, I haven't gotten over it yet because I was getting ready. So there's a guy who I want to fall to the Falcons at 8 overall, and that's Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech. I was prepared to talk about how the 2 positions the Falcons need more than anything else are an edge rusher and a cornerback. They got the cornerback 5 minutes ago. So now I guess edge rusher is their number 1 primary concern. If they go anywhere other than edge rusher with their number 8 overall pick, I will be very upset as a Falcons fan. There's a lot of rumors that they might get Bijan Robinson, which I think is stupid. They just got Tyler Algier in the 5th round last year. He rushed for 1,000 yards. I'm seeing some mock drafts. I'm taking Will Levis, which absolutely makes no sense whatsoever. You're just getting another Desmond Ridder. They've committed to Desmond Ridder. They're going to see what he has. Why would you take Will Levis in that spot? It makes absolutely no sense with the amount of holes that the Falcons have on their team. So they better go pass rusher. If Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech falls to them, easy pick. If he doesn't, I would like to see them trade down because there's some options that they can get probably 12th overall if they trade with the Texans, 13th overall, 14th overall. Lucas Van Ness from Iowa. I'm seeing a lot of mock drafts with him going to the Falcons. I think he'd be a great fit. And then Clemson, Miles Murphy, who I think they can get a little bit later in the first round. So I hope they go edge rusher with that number 8 overall pick. Tyree Wilson, if not him, trade down and get one of the other guys, because I don't see any other position that they need more now. Now that they've got Jeff Okudah, let's go get an edge rusher and move on to the second round.
I want to point something out in the chat really quickly. Black Mamba says, we don't know anything about the Panthers offseason. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I don't think bringing in Adam Thielen is all of a sudden that's the move that makes the Panthers a contender, makes them have a great correlation with, or a great connection with their rookie quarterback. I do think Hayden Hurst is a underrated move. Hayden Hurst, again, I like tight ends. I like good, solid tight ends with young quarterbacks, again, especially rookie quarterbacks. Their offensive line isn't great. If you want to say DJ Chark, if you're hoping that he just all of a sudden breaks out, I just don't really see it with the Panthers. Miles Sanders he's a fine running back. I'm not saying the Panthers just stood pat, but they didn't bring in any big name guys. Again, I would prefer to have Laramie Tunsil and Dalton Schultz over Hayden Hurst and Adam Thielen, but that's just me. Reed, well, first off, who's your team? And second off,
I'm a New York Giants fan, so back half of the draft, I think that the Giants are going to have decent options picking in the 20s. I just think, the way the wide receiver class is going to fall, that's where I would like for them to go. That and cornerback to me, back half of the first round, I think they're going to have plenty of options. Two names that stick out to me, though, that are highest on my wish list: Zay Flowers from Boston College. Watch a Boston College game last year. It was pretty grim, but the only upside was Phil Dracovic just chucking the ball downfield to Zay Flowers and him making a play. So I like Zay Flowers a lot. Giants, of course, need help in the passing game. Re-signed Daniel Jones. Going to bring back Saquon Barkley, but they need to get the passing game going. I think Zay Flowers is a great place to start. But if they go corner, which would be perfectly fine, Emmanuel Forbes from Mississippi State to me is a great look. Led the country in pick sixes last year. You look at Wink Martindale's scheme, press corners, aggressive corners, that's Forbes right there. So I think the Miss State cornerback, that would be a great pick. Mocked in that late first, maybe early second round. So I think this is a great landing spot for him. Maybe this would be seen as like a few picks earlier than the mock drafts would have. But to me, this is a guy that fits the scheme really well. So those are two guys that I have my eye on for the Giants.
Yeah, I should have understood that you were a Giants guy with a Jason Kidd jersey in the background.
Yeah, come on. This is a New York.
That's a New Jersey. That's a New Jersey Nets jersey, though. That's not a Brooklyn.
New Jersey, New York. We're all the same here. There's no New York, no Manhattan, New York sports team. So Jersey right over the bridge in the Meadowlands. So
yeah, I don't know, man. Hoboken. Where do you consider Hoboken? That's Jersey.
Oh, that's Jersey though, for sure. I'm from Jersey. Now live in Manhattan, so grew up right by the Meadowlands, now live in the city. So this comes all full circle.
Yeah. You're a big what's the Atlantic City guy? That's all.
No, that's too far for me. Come on, that's too far. That's like all the way on the other side of the state. That's a trek. When it gets nice out, I'll go down there and enjoy the beach. But on like during the winter, during football season, not as much.
Yeah. Joe Brandon in the chat says the reason the line moved is because Chris Mortensen, who you can just about take it to the bank, said it's Bryce, and that's what he's been told. How did you guys miss that? I don't know. I didn't see Chris Mortensen go out with that.
So this was I could talk to this. So this was last week. Mortensen said that it was like on like a lost NFL Live clip from like days before, and it got like retweeted into social media, and that's sort of the initial Bryce Young move. Then it got knocked back to CJ Stroud because, again, things move on news. But Chris Mortensen said that Bryce Young is very much in the conversation for number one, and then obviously more people are starting to come out and say that. So, that's kind of been part of this move forward. But I think the right word was that Bryce Young is firmly in the conversation, or Bryce Young, the Panthers love Bryce Young, while also saying they love CJ Stroud also. It wasn't like a declarative, Bryce Young is going, like, let's go. Because, again, like if that was the case, this line wouldn't exist anymore. So, but yeah, Chris Mortensen did say that last week.
For me, I'm a Chiefs guy. If you listen to me, you know me. Big Chiefs guy. It's nice. We're picking 31, not 32. 31 and a Super Bowl with the NFL draft here in Kansas City. Chiefs real needs wide receiver. They really need a wide receiver one. They need a tackle, whether they want to go left tackle or right tackle. It's up to them. Obviously, with the move, bringing in Jawan Taylor, the former Jaguars tackle, they're trying to move him from right tackle to left tackle just based on that contract alone. And the other option is edge. They have George Karlaftis, which was a first-round draft pick last year. They might want to go on someone on the other side. I would like to go with a bendier edge guy because Karlaftis is more that power bull rusher. Give me a speed rusher on the other side to a nice little compliment. But at 31, they're in an interesting position here. Hendon Hooker has been trending up. Some team might want that fifth-year option. I think it would make a lot of sense realistically for the Chiefs to trade back. If they trade back, I would like Derek Hall from Auburn, the edge rusher there. But if they decide to trade up, because again, I don't think they stay where they're at, knowing Brett Veach, he likes to be very aggressive. I think you're probably looking at Darnell Wright from Tennessee, depending on where he falls to. If you start seeing him around 18 or later, don't be surprised to see Brett Veach trade up for Darnell Wright.
Yeah, I think prime trade-up candidate, especially. It's a crowded offensive line in like that 10 to 20 range. Johnston, Skoronski, Broderick Jones, a lot of guys in the mix there. So I think the Chiefs, if you're thinking O-line, Sterling, I think you're going to be able to move up a couple spots and pick up an offensive lineman, I think.
Yeah. Let's get into the future number 2. Who will be the first cornerback selected, Witherspoon or Gonzalez? Ian, I'll start with you.
I think it's going to be Gonzalez. Before the Jeff Okudah trade happened, I was going to say Gonzalez was going to be who the Falcons were going to take, number 8 overall. I think when you look at the two cornerbacks, it looks like Gonzalez might be the more athletic guy, the guy with a little bit more size. Witherspoon might be a guy who maybe a little bit of a smarter cornerback. And also the thing that you have to keep in mind with Witherspoon is that he really only had one good year in college. He was kind of average at best in his couple years leading up to last season. So maybe a little bit more of a bigger body of work from Gonzalez. If you take a look at the betting odds, pretty close. Gonzalez is a slight underdog though, but I think just teams like his athleticism, I'm going to say him out of Oregon.
Yeah, I think.
All right, Reed.
I think 2-horse race here between Witherspoon and Gonzalez. From a betting perspective, Gonzalez was the favorite. Then Witherspoon flipped to the favorite over the past week or so. I'll go Witherspoon, especially with this Lions move now happening while we're on the air. I think Witherspoon fits the Lions a lot more, especially. It's going to be a little narrative-y, but I believe he was a no-star recruit, a walk-on at Illinois. Gritty, ran a 6.44. I just think he's more of a grittier type that Dan Campbell's going to look for in the way the Lions want to build their roster. Gonzalez is more of the toolsy, traitsy, sick rash score at the combine, really long, talented. I think Gonzalez that's why he was the early favorite, because he graded so well and everything. But I think now, especially with the Lions moving Jeff Okudah, and now they're picking 6, I think that makes it more likely they're going to go cornerback. I think Witherspoon's more likely there. That would be my opinion on first cornerback. I think both go top 10 though, for sure. Honestly, I'll go even no, because the Falcons got corner, but I think Raiders at 7 are also a likely corner destination with whoever goes 6, the other one goes 7. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, if you're the Lions and they're going with the cornerback first, you think it would be Witherspoon for the simple fact that, yes, what you said, but 2, they had a Gonzalez type of guy in Jeff Okudah, that bigger corner, 6'1". Gonzalez is listed at 197 pounds. I mean, you're talking very similar traits to Jeff Okudah. Obviously, you can't just say, well, we're never going to go where that 6'1" bigger cornerback who runs a 4.38 ever again. Mm-hmm. I mean, then you're going to miss out on some great prospects, but it does seem like they're going to turn a page and go with the grittier guy, which again would be Witherspoon. So just based on that trade alone, I think they're telling us Witherspoon will be the first cornerback taken. Who will be the first wide receiver taken? Ian, starting with you.
I don't really have too much of a unique opinion here. JSN is the guy from Ohio State, the guy I'm going to go with, just based on the betting odds alone. And he does have a little bit of a separation from the rest of the receivers when it comes to betting odds. Minus 190, Zay Flowers second, plus 275, Quentin Johnson plus 650, Jordan Addison plus 700. So, I mean, we've seen some, that's actually one market if you kind of want to place a little bit of a dark horse bet in past years. We've seen some receivers at like 5-1, 6-1 odds to be the first receiver selected, ending up being the first receiver selected. I don't really have any unique take on this one, though. I'll take the guy from Ohio State.
Reed?
Yeah, I just talked about it, but I think Zay Flowers is live to go earlier than expected. And I think, like Ian said, I took the words right out of my mouth. This is one where, yes, maybe it's likely it is Jackson Smith and Jigba, but when you're betting the NFL draft, the further down the board you go, because JSN, the first likely landing spot for him is 12 to the Texans. In most mock drafts, that's kind of the earliest he's going. He's not a top 5 pick, top 6 pick, where you kind of have like a firm grasp of where he's going to go. The further down you go, you start getting more variance. And you start getting teams doing a little bit different, and there's ripple effects down the board. What if Smith and Jigba still on the board when you get to 15 and 16, but the Packers have someone like Zay Flowers higher on their board, and they're going to go with him? So I think this is a market where you could go further down the board. Flowers, he was 7-1 a few weeks ago. He's now like in the plus 300 range, the second choice. I don't think Quentin Johnson and Jordan Addison graded out as well in the process for them to go where Zay Flowers has. He ran a 640. So I think if Smith and Jigba falls just a little bit, maybe a team has Zay Flower rated higher. All it takes is one team here. So I think, sure, maybe it is Jack Smith and Jigba, but for the spiciness, I'll take Zay Flowers to be the first wide receiver off the board come draft night.
Yeah, I'll be boring, dude. I'll be mayonnaise over here. I have no hot take. I'm with you, Ian. I think it's JSN. I think he's clear cut the best wide receiver. You hear Olave and Garrett Wilson come out and say, yeah, he was the best dude out of us three, and we saw what those guys have already done in the NFL. I know, what are they going to say? They're probably going to try and pump their guy up, but man, he's just so talented. He is just so good. Not really a weakness in his game. I like JSN going first. But I will say, if you wanted to put a dark horse based on those numbers, I think Quentin Johnson might be the guy. Him being 6'3", being that bigger bodied guy, I could see a team saying, we love that size. We love that size. Not only that, if you look at NFL Combine with their next gen stats score breakdown, that's a mouthful. His athleticism score was apparently second out of wide receivers. So 6'3" with the athleticism score, whatever that takes into account. I think a team might get just enticed by Quentin Johnson.
What about your Chiefs getting enticed by Quentin Johnson? I saw a few people mocking that. That would be
no.
Oh, you don't. Oh, you're not interested.
Just because I think it could happen isn't something that I'm gonna do. If I were the Chiefs, I would wait for Cedric Tillman out of Tennessee.
Okay.
And Ian, I know that you have a very fond fandom to Tennessee, especially after March Madness. That beer is going to taste pretty good. We had a bet, Ian and myself, on Tennessee, which you're probably thinking to yourself, why would you ever bet on Tennessee? Well, we did, because we're degenerates. That's what we did. So I have to give him at least a little bit of a hard time. But I like Cedric Tillman. He's a similar mold of Quentin Johnson, just without the flair, production, all the hype surrounding him. I think that would be a move I would think the Chiefs could take a look at.
Okay.
Let's get into the future number 3. Which defensive lineman do you like the most? Ian, who do you have?
The guy that I talked about earlier, the guy who I want the Falcons to take. Maybe it's because he's a lot more likely to fall to the Falcons than Will Anderson, but I feel like I'm starting to see some reports of Will Anderson being overrated. Maybe that's just people just needing something to talk about at this point. Obviously, we got the issues with Jalen Carter, which is a significant cause for concern. I think didn't look good at this pro day, gained weight. And I don't see any reason why not to love Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech. He's got size, 6'6", 275 pounds. He can both rush the passer. He can stop the run. He's got some versatility on the defensive line. He's improved every single year throughout his college career, which I like to see. I always get a little bit concerned when a guy drops off a little bit in the most recent season, but he's improved every single year. I'm going to go with Tyree Wilson.
All right, who do you have? Reed, what are you thinking?
So I read the outline a little bit wrong. I thought we were talking who I think goes first, because I think that Tyree Wilson's upside, like Ian said, is tantalizing. To me personally, as someone who watches college football, it's hard not to just see Will Anderson every time you watch Alabama. He is in the backfield every single play. He's everywhere. He's a guy who was a finalist for a Heisman Trophy 2 years ago. Obviously, Alabama had less success this year, so didn't get as much notoriety. But I mean, just the guy in the toughest conference in college football, making play after play. He's everywhere. The motor's unstoppable. Will Anderson is my favorite pass rusher in my if I were to make a scouting big board or anything like that. I guess on the Tyree Wilson front, my bold prediction, best bet type thing. We'll talk about that in a little bit. That's where I bring in the Tyree Wilson hype.
I'm Will Anderson again.
Yeah.
I'm not a hot take artist over here. I'm going Will Anderson. I do think Carter's very intriguing as far as from a talent perspective, but 9 pounds overweight, all of the off the field stuff. Drew Rosenhaus saying they're not going to meet with anyone outside the top 10 makes me question some of that. Dan Campbell's comments as well. It's interesting. Then asked to elaborate. It's interesting. Maybe it's a positive. Maybe his teammate said the most wonderful things about him, but with everything else surrounding him, I can't get behind Carter right now. So I'm going to go with Will Anderson. Let's get into the future. Number 5, best NFL draft prediction or bet. I trust you two on this one. This is your specialty, Mr. Bet-sided folk. Ian, starting with you.
Yeah, this is more of a prediction. I don't know if you can bet it. You can bet it on this player to go in the 7th round at 3-1. I'm finding out there. So you're going to have to get a little bit creative on how to bet this. But I think with the Falcons' final pick in the draft, we're going to bring home Mr. Georgia himself, Stetson Bennett. Project quarterback. Georgia loves him. Bring him to Atlanta. It's a third option. He's a little bit of a project for us.
Wait, he's your first option.
Stop. You hate Desmond Ridder. It makes me so angry how much you hate Desmond Ridder.
There's not much to love about Desmond Ridder.
Well, what do you mean there's not much to love about Desmond? He's going to lead us to 3 Super Bowls. I talked about it last week. He progressed this is not a Desmond Ridder talk, but he progressed every game last year. He's young, took Cincinnati to the playoff. People forget. I'm high on Desmond Ridder. But anyways, if he doesn't work out, bring in Stetson Bennett, the pride of Georgia. He did it with Georgia. Maybe he can do it with the Falcons. Although I am concerned he's like 38 years old. So a little bit of an older quarterback.
He's in his prime.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Him and Perry Ellis at KU, it just felt like they were there forever. Maybe throw in Aaron Kraft at Ohio State. Reed, before I get your answer, what do you think about Desmond Ridder? I mostly do it to give Ian a hard time. It's fun. He gives me a hard time about the Chiefs. I give him a hard time about the Falcons, which is very, very easy.
Yeah,
it's honestly, I feel bad. Yeah, it's not really a fair fight. But what are your thoughts on Desmond Ridder?
He's a below average quarterback who, win you a handful of games and, you'll be in the top 10 every year until, you find the next one. Like, I think that the Falcons should absolutely be in on this Lamar Jackson thing. I think the roster is further along than, is maybe being led on, picking in the top 10. If you get a guy like Lamar Jackson with the weapons on offense, I think the Falcons can take over that NFC South. That is ripe for the taking. But Desmond Ridder, no way. I think if Desmond Ridder was that good, he would have taken the job from Marcus Mariota earlier in the year.
I expect apologies from everyone when Desmond Ridder turns out to be an All-Pro.
And what happens if he's not? We just don't talk about it. It just doesn't come up. It never happened.
Yes. I don't know if I like that, but I like our Tennessee bet better, Ian. I like that one better.
Desmond Ridder already probably a top 3 quarterback in the NFC, and there hasn't even been a snap yet this year.
All right. Reed, what is your draft prediction or bet?
Okay, so this is you said, Sterling, you're not like a hot take guy. I try to give some nuanced takes, but this one is I guess it's starting to pick up steam, so I don't think it's as hot as it may have been yesterday when I bet it. But if Bryce Young is going to go 1, there's been a lot of tea leaves out there that if the Texans don't get Bryce Young with the 2nd overall pick and he ends up going 1, then CJ Stroud isn't as high on their board. CJ Stroud might take a little bit of a tumble here. What was thought to be the number 1 pick might be sliding down the board all of a sudden because the Texans aren't that interested. The Texans still very early on the rebuild. They don't need to force taking a quarterback just now. They might be content to keep stockpiling these picks. Maybe they look to trade back, but what if they like one of these defensive players, like a Tyree Wilson, who Lance Zierlein of NFL.com, who, one of the sharper mock drafters out there, he actually mocked Bryce Young and Tyree Wilson 1-2 in his mock draft last week before this Bryce Young thing even picked up steam. So to me, I guess my prediction will be Bryce Young goes 1, Tyree Wilson or Will Anderson. I'll do it for the hot takiness. I'll do Tyree Wilson 2. CJ Stroud goes 3 because somebody trades up to get to 3 and get CJ Stroud. And the 4th pick, if it's not the Colts, if the Colts are picking 4, I'll go Will Levis that's the top 4. If the Colts don't trade up to 3 and get CJ Stroud. So I guess my prediction and bets out there are, defensive player as pick 2, whether it's Will Anderson or Tyree Wilson, and then CJ Stroud goes 3rd overall. That's my kind of how I see this draft playing out. Ask me today, and you could get some long numbers on those. So let's hope in 2.5 weeks those cash.
Can you bet on like these major betting sites about a team to trade up, trade down, or to stay pat? Or is this only something you can do if you have a bookie in a trench coat smoking a cigarette in the underpass of a garage?
That's not how my bookie he operates. He doesn't have the trench coat anymore. He got rid of that. But I don't think you could bet on teams to trade up. But like all these books now, you could bet on position of player that you use on your first pick, position or player drafted by this team. So, there's a lot there's a lot of smoke around the Titans trading up. Anthony Richardson to the Titans, that picked up a lot of steam because the idea was they'll trade up and get there at 3. Maybe he falls to, what are the Titans, 11? No, Titans are somewhere around there. So you could bet on like all different sorts of things. It's actually been slower than usual this year getting props out there, but you could bet on all different sorts of things as it relates to the NFL draft.
I just think we really need to bring back the image of the trench coat, the top hat, and the cigarette smoking in a garage. I'm firmly convinced the CEOs and the owners of like BetMGM and DraftKings, this is what they do. They just hang out down there and they all talk like Kermit the Frog. They're really getting down there. That's what I'm picturing. And that's how they have all of our money. But no, I'm kidding. If I listened to you guys, I would do so much better. If you faded me, you would win so much more money.
That's why. So come check out Betsided, and we hope to only positive interactions with Trenchcoat and the bookies down underneath the underpass.
Well, I want to get into the prediction that I have, and that is the Chiefs trading up, even though I want them to trade back. I just don't think they will. As much as I want them to trade back, because I think they can both get Derek Hall and Cedric Tillman in the second round. I think that'd be a good move. I don't see a player for them at 31, and I think some team again would want Hooker at that 5th-year option at 31, knowing Brett Veach and what he has shown us. He's shown us he likes to trade up. He likes to be aggressive. So I think that he trades up, and I think he does get Darnell Wright from Tennessee. That's going to be my prediction. I think this is a fairly realistic one. I'm going to be happy that it happens because I think that really shores up that offensive line. The offensive line is very talented on the interior for Kansas City, but the tackles are still a question mark. As much as I want to be optimistic and thrilled about Juwan Taylor, we saw a former right tackle go to left tackle in Orlando Brown Jr., and he was fine. He was above average, but it wasn't necessarily what we all expected. They are trying it again with a more athletic tackle, but still I have my reservations, and you have a $500 million investment back there. Let's get another solid offensive lineman. So I think the Chiefs trade up. That is my prediction.
I'm looking now for if they have like Chiefs to take odds, like what position or something like that. I don't think Darnell Wright will have that, but yeah, I think, like you said, Sterling, you laid it out really nicely. I think on, trading up, getting an offensive lineman, I think it makes a ton of sense given what the Chiefs need right now.
Let's do some quick hitters. So this is what we do, Reed. We have these quick hitters. You say in, out, and you can give just a little explanation of why you're in or out. Let's start with you, Ian. Bijan Robinson will be a top 15 pick.
I'm going to say in, unfortunately, because I do see, like I said earlier, a lot of mock drafts and a lot of Falcons fans too, hoping that they get them either at 8 or trade down a little bit and get Bijan Robinson with like the 12th or 13th or 14th overall pick. Obviously a talented player, but the question comes up, is the running back position important enough to spend that high of a pick on? I don't know. I say no, but I don't believe in NFL executives to feel the same way. Some teams just like to get the best player available, like to get the most flashiest player. So I'll say I'm in on him being a top 15 pick.
Reed?
I'll go out. because I already came up in my head what the answer is going to be. And it was kind of the opposite of Ian's. Like, maybe this is the year that GMs wise up, teams wise up, that it's not worth it to get Bijan Robinson, at least not for the teams picking in the top half of the first round that need more help elsewhere. Maybe teams wise up this year. Maybe I have too much faith in these teams, but I think Bijan Robinson is an electric player and he's going to be awesome in the league. Still just think the value of a running back isn't worthy of being in the top half of the first round.
Yeah, I'm with you, Reed. I think we're finally starting to see the value of running back catch up. I don't think we're going to see many more first round running backs taken. Although I will say you might see some towards the end because while running backs, we're starting to understand the value more. It comes from scheme. It comes from offensive line. That fifth-year option can be very valuable for a running back who is extremely talented. It didn't work out for Kansas City in one of these examples of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We saw what happened there. That did not work out. That was a miss. But if you can have a fifth-year option on these running backs, you might get that value so you're not paying them their second option, and you're getting the best 5 years realistically of said player. I mean, you're seeing running backs after 5+ years just fall off the face of the earth. Guys you never thought would happen, Ezekiel Elliott, Todd Gurley. Who knows what's going to happen with Derrick Henry. So for me, I don't see the value, but maybe that fifth year does make a difference, but I'm out. I'm with you, Reed. I think teams are finally starting to wise up. Next one. There will be a trade in the top 10 picks, in or out. Ian.
Yeah, in. I mean, there usually is. Was it last year or the year before? Maybe even the year before that. Time just it's all mushed together into 1 year. Wasn't there a year recently where there was like no trades in like the top like 10 or 15 or 20 picks? Or am I misremembering that?
No, I definitely think you're right. I can't remember the year, but that was one where we're all just sitting here going, is anything going to happen?
Right.
Is anything going to happen?
Just picks. Like, come on, give me something else.
I say now, definitely with the Jeff Okudah trade happening, because now I think the Falcons are a prime candidate to trade down. I'll say yes, there will be a trade.
Yeah, I agree. I'd be shocked if the Cardinals pick at 3. So yes, for sure. And then also you got the Falcons in there. I wouldn't rule out the Bears, who need help kind of everywhere. Do they kind of just keep stockpiling assets, just keep working their way back down the board? They're picking 9 now. So yeah, I'll go with yes. I think I'm in on a trade in the top 10.
Yeah, I'll go in as well. I think something exciting happens. I think the Cardinals are probably the best bet as well. The Aaron Rodgers trade gets done during the NFL draft. In or out?
I'm in on it. I've been saying it for the past little while. I think now is finally the time for them to pull the trigger, toss in some draft picks, get it done. So I'm in on the Aaron Rodgers trade getting done during the draft.
I'm going to go out because I think this is one of the most underappreciated storylines going in sports right now that no one is talking about. Just they've agreed to they've seemingly agreed. The players said that he's going to this team and there's just no trade and just no one's talking about it anymore. How long does this go on for? I think it goes on for maybe a month or so more. So I'll go. I am out on an Aaron Rodgers trade come draft night.
I'll go in, and partially because Ian's been so adamant about it happening, and I know he's right way more than he's wrong. So I will agree with you there.
I wish.
It feels so weird. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. I said they agreed to a trade. Aaron Rodgers publicly said, I'm going to the Jets. I want to be a New York Jet. The Jets want him. The Packers don't want anything to do with him, it seems like, anymore. But yet we're sitting here just stuck. A couple weeks ago, the Jets GM was sitting here saying, yeah, I'm not too worried about it. It'll get done when it gets done. I'm sitting here going, I would be worried about it. Has there been anyone more flaky in the NFL than Aaron Rodgers? Maybe the case for Brett Favre. That might be it. If there's anyone who might just say, you know what? I'm going to retire. I'm going to the desert, going to drop some peyote and have a nice time. It would be Rodgers. Like, that would be something he would do. I would be very nervous if I were the Jets. So I hope this happens. So I hope we can stop talking about it.
I agree with you. I think this thing is becoming more sillier and sillier by the day and sets a weird precedent going into next year.
Do you guys have any idea what the draft compensation or what a trade package might look like for Aaron Rodgers? I mean, you're talking about 2 MVPs in the past 3 seasons, right? But also coming off one of his worst years, didn't have a lot of talent on that Green Bay team. They finished 8-9. And that's another thing. We're talking about Aaron Rodgers leading a team to go 8-9 as if he is Patrick Mahomes in his prime. Like, can we say what it is? This dude might be just washed up. Again, 2 MVPs in 3 years. Maybe he still has a lot left in the tank based on that. But maybe we're also looking at last year was who he's going to be going forward. I don't know. But what do you guys think a trade package looks like?
Reed, I'll let you go first on that one.
Ooh, on the washed front, I think you might be onto something, Sterling. I think definitely maybe his best years are finally behind him. He's 39 now, something like that, 38. We've only seen this really been done once, and that's Tom Brady. I mean, we saw Drew Brees fall off. Brett Favre eventually fell off. So the older you get, this really, I don't think we should start be treating Tom Brady as the norm. That's Tom Brady. So, I think the Jets are, in terms of what a package looks like, I'm terrible when it comes to NFL trades and what like the value of it is. I do imagine, though, the Jets are going to end up overpaying. They have a lot of talent, but you're also in a loaded conference with, Patrick Mahomes. Forget about just the conference, about the division. Bills are still going to be talented. Dolphins are loading up. Patriots are, not very great, but it is, it's never easy for the Jets against the Patriots anyway. So, I think that the Jets are going to end up looking like an overpay here. So we'll see how it goes. But in terms of like what it actually is, I have no idea.
I also just want to say, how great is it going to be when they start 0-3?
Oh, yeah.
And he
Press
tells the New York media to relax. He's got no ring, or he doesn't have a ring like he has in Green Bay. That doesn't translate. Doesn't have those MVPs. It's going to be fascinating to see how that transpires. So that's what I'm really rooting for.
Yeah, what would a package look like? Maybe like a second and a fifth?
Probably more, right? It's Aaron Rodgers. Like, it's your franchise quarterback.
Yeah, but like you said, he's old. He doesn't want to be there. He's already not. He already said he's not going to play for the Packers. So you have to get what you can get.
Is there a rumored package? I don't even. This report came out like a month ago, so I don't even remember like what is going on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know what like the bar has been set at. So that just feels like not enough.
It almost feels like if another team wanted to swoop in, like let's say the 49ers, who say, you know what, we are a quarterback away. We've been a quarterback away. Brock Purdy, congratulations. Thanks for helping us out. But you were just kind of a guy. You were a dude just then and there. You see him as the season went on into the playoffs. Didn't look great. He was a disaster under pressure. And if you think, hey, he was a rookie, he can improve, I'll hear you out. But there's also a reason he was drafted in the 7th round. And don't give me Tom Brady. Don't give me Ian the outlier. I saw you smirking over here when I have my take on Brock Purdy because I love Trey Lance.
Yeah, you just hate hate my guys. You hate Brock Purdy and Desmond Ridder, my 2 favorite young quarterbacks.
No. But my point is, Rodgers would automatically make them the best team in the NFC. They would be one of, if not the Super Bowl favorite. What if the Niners come out of nowhere and just say, all right, we'll give you a first?
I don't know. Would Rodgers go to the team that didn't draft him and that he holds a grudge against, though? I feel like Rodgers would not do that.
That's a good point.
That would, the Niners, the Niners were rumored. No, I don't want to speak. Was the Mac Jones that the Niners, or no, the Patriots are shopping Mac Jones apparently. But like, who knows how true that is? The Niners should probably be in the market for a quarterback, though.
Yeah. Again, I'm all in on Trey Lance, but I also think when you have a win now team, it's tough to have a win now team with a very, very raw quarterback. But let's stop with Aaron Rodgers and get into another guy who obviously makes the news all the time, and that's OBJ. Odell Beckham Jr. is heading to the Ravens. Will this be enough to bring Lamar, or should I say keep Lamar in Baltimore?
I think it will be. I don't even think this contract is $15 million. I don't even think this was a contract to get OBJ. I think this was a contract given out to bring Lamar Jackson back as kind of a I'm sorry I messed up kind of. It's like the equivalent of getting your girlfriend flowers when you did something wrong and messed up. It's like, yeah, okay, we'll get you your guy OBJ. Lamar Jackson's always complained about not having weapons. Well, now he has a weapon. I still think OBJ is a little bit overrated. I don't think a guy who's been hurt a ton at his age is a true number one receiver, but he's someone. it's a step in the right direction to rebuild this relationship. So I think, especially now because Lamar doesn't seem like he has a ton of options left with every other team out on him, I think this kind of gives him an excuse to kind of go back to the Ravens and try it for one more year.
Yeah, I'm in on this. I think this will be, I don't know if it's necessarily enough or like this was already in the right direction, if like this is like a 1-for-1 thing, but I do think Lamar is going to end up back on the Ravens. And I'm not as high on Odell anyway, either, just sat out a full season, but it's a step in the right direction. So I think that it seems like all things are aligning for Lamar to be back. He was like celebrating with Odell also when he signed the contract. So I'm in on this.
The Ravens had to pay I don't even say bad organization, but when you don't have an elite quarterback or at least a offense tailored to wide receivers, they're a run-first offense. You have to pay that tax. You're not going to get those numbers, so they had to overpay for Odell Beckham Jr. I firmly believe that. It's not necessarily the same thing as when you're a bad team, you have to overpay for players like, I'm a Kansas City guy. So the Royals, for example, they had to overpay for Jordan Lyles, the starting pitcher. Probably saying, who the hell's Jordan Lyles? And that's my point. They had to overpay for him. I think the Ravens are in the same boat, but just a little different side of the coin. They don't throw the ball a lot. The numbers aren't going to be great. So they had to overpay to bring Odell Beckham Jr. in. My other question would be, sure, it's great if he plays on the franchise tag, but if you don't extend him, to an extent, could Lamar Jackson take this as you're overpaying for Odell Beckham Jr. who's not done anything for this organization, and you won't give me that money? Is there any chance that gets construed that way?
I feel like this was calculated, though. They know what they are doing. It's either like Lamar's just out and this is like irrelevant to that, or the Ravens told Lamar, hey, we're going to sign Odell. This is our offer. This is like the wiggle room we have for you. I feel like it was a coordinated effort here. But I like the galaxy brain thinking, though.
Yeah, I think that'd be just very fun. It could be just one big FU, like, hey, we're going to overpay everyone else, and Tyler Huntley's our guy now. We're bringing back Joe Flacco.
Maybe.
All right, before we get out of here, we do this thing where we call What Is Going On? Just something in your life, something that you're either looking forward to, something that you've just done. Could be anything. So, Ian, we'll start with you. What's going on?
Yeah, obviously I'm a big NHL guy. NHL regular season wraps up end of this week. Got to prepare for the NHL playoffs. My mom's coming to visit me in New York for the first time this weekend, so we get to do a lot of touristy stuff. I'm a sucker for actually doing touristy stuff, and I don't get to do much of it. So even though I've lived in New York for now a year and a half, I'm going to be a true tourist this weekend. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and I'm a huge Nets fan, as you couldn't tell. So we've got the playoffs coming up. I don't have much hopes against the 76ers, but honestly, college basketball just ended. So we unplug now for a few weeks, and then it's college football season. Prep starts in like a month or so in May.
So I'm a 76ers guy.
Oh, God.
So good luck. I worked there for 3 years. Okay, I worked there, so I have a reason. I'm not just a bandwagon guy. First off,
there's no bandwagon. That's not a bandwagon.
There's no bandwagon. I don't win anything. Yeah.
Congrats on your MVP. So, Joel Embiid looks like he's going to win the MVP, so I'll tip my cap.
Hang the banner.
Deserve.
Hang the banner. So I was going to go with the NBA, so I'll just have a little rivalry with you. Do you want to bet on it? Mr. Bet cited himself.
No.
You sure?
Soft. Come on, Reed. Bet a six-pack.
All right, I'll bet you a six-pack. But I thought like we're talking like I think the Nets have no chance. So
we bet six-packs on this show because we're responsible people.
Okay, six-pack.
And it's fun. So that's how I got the six-pack from Ian. I'm hopefully get a six-pack from you. Ian has no idea how much six-packs cost.
If the Nets win, though, I should get a 12-pack. That's like we should get some odds here because that would be like a big upset.
Deal.
So I want a 12-pack if the Nets pull it off.
You get a 12-pack. Right, I love Ian too. He goes, yeah, so I just send you like $20. I'm like, how much what six-packs are you getting? Is this like some barrel oak-aged bourbon barrel?
That's in Canada, it's not that much of an exaggeration. Beer is extremely expensive in Canada for some reason.
It's expensive in the city,
and
too.
That's why I don't live in Canada.
A 12-pack of beer in Canada is like $30.
I would go broke.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
Well, this was a lot of fun. Reed, thank you so much for joining us. This was a lot of fun. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Reed Wallach. That's ReedWallach. Wallach. He is the senior editor at BetSided. So make sure you check out BetSided. A lot of great stuff going on there. Iain, obviously part of BetSided as well. Again, if you want to win bets, go there. If you want to lose bets, you can fade me on this show. Either way, hopefully we can win you some money. He's also the host of the Early Read. I don't want to say Early Bird. I don't wake up early. I'm not an early person. It's the Early Read college football podcast. Get your college football fix. For Iain MacMillan, for Reed, I am Sterling Holmes. We are out.